Six Flags Great Adventures Holiday in the Park event is really something to behold. This park, man, they are so aggressive when it comes to running their rides in extreme weather conditions, which can lead to some of the most insane rides that you'll ever have. This past Christmas, and yes, I know that was 2 months ago, but I've been busy lately and time for making content has been really slim. But this past Christmas, I was able to take my second visit to Six Flags Great Adventure ever, and it was absolutely amazing. It was literally a perfect trip, and almost everything that could have gone right went right. Today, I'm going to talk about my absolutely amazing experience at Six Flags Great Adventure Holiday in the Park on December 26th and 27th, 2021. First though, I want to mention one thing. When I'm at parks, I typically don't record footage because I don't have a good enough camera to where it will be worthwhile. That means that I'll be relying on non-copyright footage from wonderful creators such as Canobie Coaster, so if some specific conditions in my visit don't match up with what you're seeing on the screen, just remember that it's because the footage is not from the day that I went. So the first day, it was a Sunday the day after Christmas. My family was pretty busy in the morning that day, so we didn't get going on the road until about 2:30 p.m. So we'd only have the evening at the park that day, but that's okay because that's what we had been planning on. We got to the park around 5:30 p.m. and at first I thought this day might be a bust because the parking lot looked absolutely packed. I'd always heard the holiday in the park at Great Adventure is usually pretty empty, but I guess it would make sense for the day after Christmas to be an exception. But it turned out the lines were actually not that bad at all. There was only one ride that I had to wait for all night, and I'll get into that a little bit later. First thing, we got into the park and started heading for the right side of the park towards Jersey Devil to see if that was open. The ride had just valied about a week or two prior, so I wasn't sure if it was going to be open. On the way though, we decided to hop on my arch nemesis Skull Mountain, which, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I've had some not so nice things to say about this ride. I found it incredibly stupid. From the outside it looks like a fun, themed experience, then you get in there and it's just a burning hot warehouse with zero theming in sight, and the only sound is blasting rock and roll music for who knows why. The ride is themed to anything but rock and roll. Also, people always said there's a crazy ejector pop on the first drop in the back row, and I got little to nothing there. This time around, yeah, the ride is still really stupid, but I don't know, it was kind of fun. It's better at night because you don't have the light seeping through all the holes in the wall. There is still no airtime on the drop though. Next, we decided to take a ride on Nitro because that's both my dad and sister's favorite ride in the park that was open that day. Nitro was super fun, of course. You could definitely tell the cold was affecting it as it was running a lot slower and rougher than when I rode in the summer, but that was made up for by the insane experience of traveling 80 miles per hour through the air when it's 35 degrees out. I never knew it was possible to get brain freeze on a coaster. Then after that, I headed over to Jersey Devil because I did see it running. When I got there though, I noticed that there was a noticeable line unlike Nitro, and then I realized that it was because they were running one train.
You serious?
On a single rail coaster at Great Adventure the day after Christmas. Needless to say, I was not going to wait for that and not be able to do anything else the rest of the day, so I just made the plan to come back right before the park closed. Instead, I went back to Nitro and gave it another ride, and afterwards, since it was right there, I stopped by Little Devil to snag that credit, as that ride opened after my visit this past summer, and I never rode it in its previous form as Roadrunner Railway. I found it kind of funny how Little Devil is actually a little bit of a terrain coaster. After that, I snagged 2 rides on Batman the Ride, both in the back row, and unlike Nitro, this ride felt like it was running even faster than in the summer. These Batman clones are always so intense and such a blast. I personally love that they have them at so many parks. Then since it's right across the way from Batman the Ride, I decided to hop on the Dark Knight coaster because, yeah, it totally makes sense for them to have a ride named Dark Knight the Coaster right next to Batman the Ride. This time, they had the pre-show in use on Dark Knight, which I actually found really cool because they didn't have that during the summer. The ride is really fun too. Dark Knight remains one of my favorite wild mice, although I think the iteration at Great America is a little bit better. After that came the one ride that I really regretted not riding in the last summer, Wonder Woman Lasso of Truth. And turns out I regretted riding it this time too, because for some reason I got pretty sick on this ride, even though I never have any issue with Harley Quinn at Six Flags America. Maybe the 3-hour drive affected it or something, made me a little more sick, but I don't know. The ride itself, though, was awesome. These Amperla Giant / Giga Discoveries are unparalleled by any other pendulum ride model. Not feeling myself after the ride, we decided to go for a little walk around the park to let my stomach settle down, and we eventually ended up at Green Lantern, all the while purchasing a Jersey Devil coaster cutout. About Green Lantern, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I love Green Lantern. It's ridiculously intense, super fast paced, and if you know how to position their strengths, it's not uncomfortable at all. And then the cold really added a weird aspect to the ride because the G's make your lower half of your body feel super warm, while at the same time you're being pummeled with freezing air. It's really strange but really fun. After this ride, it was about 8:30 p.m, so I decided to head back to Jersey Devil, still on one train, but I waited it out and I was able to get one insane ride on this thing towards the back, where it was somehow running even way faster than it was last summer. Super underrated ride in my opinion. So that was day 1. I headed back to my hotel and prepared for the next day, which was about to be one of my favorite park days at any park ever. Now, I did so much that second day that if I went in depth for each ride like I just did, we'd be here for hours. So I'm gonna go kinda quick here and only highlight extra details that really stood out to me. I have to mention the weather forecast though because you need some context for this day. The high was supposed to be 35 degrees Fahrenheit or about 2 degrees Celsius, and there was a chance of a wintry mix pretty much the whole day, which means there could be snow, there could be freezing rain, there could be rain, likely it would be a mix. Who knows, but regardless, riding coasters all day in that weather was going to be nuts, and I was thinking no one was going to be at the park. Sure enough, I got to the park around 12:45 p.m, 15 minutes before opening, got into the park while it was snowing, and was able to walk all the way from the entrance plaza to Nitro without seeing a single other guest in the park. The place was deserted, and spoiler alert, it was deserted all day. I was able to get first ride of the day front row on Nitro and subsequently stayed on that train for the first 4 rides of the day, without getting out of my seat. I would have gone for more, but when I saw Jersey Devil testing, I went over there and was able to get the first 3 rides of the day in a row. It felt like a completely different ride than the day prior because it was running just comically slow, but if you look on the bright side, I got the most out of this world hang time I've ever experienced on the stall, and even more so on the 0G roll. 3 rides was enough though because that uncomfortable riding position makes it a little hard to handle more than that. Then it was all the way across the park to Superman Ultimate Flight, which I got a front row Zen ride on. I've hated on this ride a little bit before, but I will say this time riding in the front, I like the ride a lot more than my previous rides in the back. Those elements after the pretzel loop were much more exciting and felt a lot faster in the front row. Still my least favorite B&M, but I now think that's a really good ride. Also, I snapped a picture from Superman's exit of the parking lot, and I was able to fit nearly all the people in the park into one frame. That's how you know it's dead. From there, it was to Green Lantern for another Zen ride, then to Houdini's Great Escape, a ride that I missed in the summer. I didn't know anything going in, but after getting off, it's my 3rd or 4th favorite ride in the park, including the coasters. I don't want to spoil it too much, just get out there and ride it for yourself. It's nuts. From there, it was on a Dark Knight, which was not running the pre-show this time, but this time I did get my whole family to ride because for some reason they were thinking it was a spinning mouse before, so they refused to ride before. They didn't believe me when I told them it wasn't, but after forcing them on, they really liked it. After that, my family went to go see a show, so I was on my own to do whatever I wanted, which meant 2 more rides on Batman the Ride, a Nitro mini marathon consisting of 4 more rides on it, and another ride on Doll Mountain. Upon meeting back up with my family, I took 2 more rides on Jersey Devil, which is mostly back to running the same incredible speed that had been the night prior. Then back to Nitro for another ride, which was my best ride yet on it, as I was in the very back row, and the trims were completely disabled for that one ride, leading to some fantastic Flojector airtime on the return run, as opposed to Nitro's normal weak floater. Then it was back to Batman, and after that, it was over to Chop 6. By the way, the Chop 6 at Six Flags Great Adventure was terrible. Do not go there. I thought it was a safe bet because I love the Chop 6 at Six Flags America, St. Louis, and Great America, but I guess that doesn't carry over here. I ordered orange chicken, it was about $15, and I received 3 chicken nugget sized pieces of mushy chicken. It literally took me about 45 seconds to consume the whole quote unquote meal. So then while my family was still enjoying some food from Granny's Country Kitchen, I took a few laps on Doll Mountain. After eating, we decided to go for a little walk and once again ended up back at Green Lantern for 3 more rides. At this point, precipitation had stopped for a few hours, but while going up the lift on the first ride, a mix of rain, freezing rain, and snow started coming down, which hurt a little bit during the ride, but oh man was it so much fun riding those conditions. It was supposed to keep coming down the rest of the night, so the park announced that they were closing an hour early, which was completely understandable given the crowd levels or lack thereof. Next was the parachute, which I found really fun. It's like a drop tower, but don't go in expecting a drop tower because the drop is really tame. It's just more about the views and unique ride system. Then we headed back over to the right side of the park and got another ride on Batman, Dark Knight, and Dull Mountain. Now after that, I thought that I just had to try out Nitro in the freezing rain, and it certainly did not disappoint. Oh man, was it painful, but oh man, was it freaking amazing. I stayed on Nitro for 10 rides in a row, all the way until the last ride of the night, and while marathoning, I got to meet Tyler and Hunter from Thrills United, who were on a bit of an East Coast trip at the time. Those 10 more rides brought me to a total of 19 on the day, breaking my personal record for the most times that I've ridden a coaster in one day. That second day was easily one of my favorite days I've ever had at any park, probably only behind my 2 days at Cedar Point and my day at Islands of Adventure. The rides were awesome, but the conditions, including the crowd levels and weather, was really what made it. I was able to get Zen rides on every single coaster I rode that second day, including Jersey Devil and Nitro. Who the heck gets a Zen ride on those two? In the end, my ride count for both days was 1 on Parachute, 1 on Fender Benders, 1 on Houdini's, 1 on Justice League Battle for Metropolis, 1 on Little Devil, 1 on Wonder Woman, 1 on Superman Ultimate Flight, 4 on Dark Knight, 5 on Dull Mountain, 5 on Green Lantern, 6 on Batman the Ride, 6 on Jersey Devil, and a whopping 21 on Nitro. I absolutely cannot wait to get out to Great Adventure when El Toro reopens, because even without experiencing El Toro yet on either of my visits, Six Flags Great Adventure stands as my favorite Six Flags park of all time.